Hey guys, it's Core Ross and welcome to Rainbow Six Extraction. So in this video I put together some super simple tips and especially how to level up faster and how there is a lot of information that's given to you that might not be apparent straight away when you're actually playing. So to begin with, you only have New York unlocked to play immediately. Then you have to level up to actually get San Francisco, Alaska, and of course the rest of the content. And then the end game stuff is the Maelstrom Protocol, and there's going to be challenge playlists as well here with the assignments. That'll be very hard playlists to go through too, which will constantly be rotating. Now, let's just hit on some of the other stuff you need to level up for. So in order to get harder difficulties, you will actually need to level up. You'll have moderate and cautious immediately, and this is basically easy and normal, and then it's hard, and then very hard. You'll also notice that there's a parasite mutation risk on these as well. These can actually be good or bad. Sometimes they give you more XP, but other times, of course, they make the game even harder. So on the hardest difficulty, you'll get a lot of kind of gameplay modifiers added into the game, kind of like skulls in Halo. But in order to level up, you of course need to play the game and get XP for completing objectives and stuff. But I totally overlooked this, the studies, which are challenges. So when you first boot up, it's not clear immediately that these are here, and you might miss them and potentially play for a long time, and you might fall behind everyone in progression. So these are different for every area. So New York has its own challenges, San Francisco has its own challenges, and Alaska has its own challenges, and of course Truth and Consequence will also have its own challenges. And these challenges can be extraordinarily simple and actually super quick to do. You can drop into an incursion, do all these challenges, and then evac, and then move on to doing the next set of 3 right after that, and you will progress a lot quicker. Because the main thing is you've got 2 different progressions in this. You've got operator progression, so you actually level up your operator, unlock different guns, and their gadget gets more powerful as well. But on top of that, we have the main progression as well, which is just kind of you leveling up as you play. And you'll get unique cosmetics. So for instance, here I've just unlocked the Polar Vortex. That is a uniform for every card. So it's like a universal uniform for everybody. This is also how you unlock the story of Rainbow Six Extraction, as going through this progression system will unlock cinematics. You also get tech as well, which then can be used to unlock different gadgets, and you need to level up in order to actually unlock those gadgets in the higher tiers as well. And this all makes you far more powerful. So leveling us up quicker is really advantageous. So doing those challenges is definitely the way to go. Now let's move on to just some of the simple stuff that I missed when I was playing this. So we're going to jump in. We're just going to do a very easy game. This is just to show you some of the menus that we have. So on the loading screen here, you get a little info on the objectives you're going to have in the map. And of course, down the bottom there, you've also got the parasite mutations, which shows you the gameplay modifiers. And going back to the main objectives here, just a quick overview of what you're looking at. So we've got 3 different objectives, of course, sabotage, biopsy, and shutdown for this example. And in between them is airlocks. So the sabotage is on map number 1, then you go into map number 2, and then map number 3. Now, the way this is set up is very important, I think, when you plan your incursion with your squad mates, because on this one, I would totally do sabotage in the first map because it's easy to do. Biopsy is going to be very easy to do in the second map, but shutdown actually might be very difficult in the third map because you have to pick up an objective and actually carry it all the way there, and that can be very dangerous, especially on the last map, and you're playing this on hard difficulty. You might want to skip that one, and that's the thing. You can choose what you want to do and what you don't want to do, and I love that about this game, because if you just have an objective you're really annoyed by, you don't have to play it. You can skip it. Now in the far harder game modes, and especially Maelstrom Protocol, which is basically this game's version of ranked, you can't skip some of them. So in those harder difficulties, you're going to have to do them. But I would say for a normal run, if you want to have a nice smooth run, then pick your battles. And also, if you have a really hard objective on the last objective here, the last map, you can also skip the first 2, so you actually go into it with good amount of ammunition and health. So it is actually very good to have a strategy on the harder difficulties, because this game gets super difficult. All the gameplay you've probably seen up until this point has been on the easiest difficulty, because of course we've got early access to it. Now, when you actually play the harder difficulties, then oh my god, it gets real difficult. And once you jump into the end game stuff, the Maelstrom Protocol, then you're going to be having a very hard time completing it, but it should be a hell of a lot of fun. Now on to operator selection. This works just like Rainbow Six Siege. Of course, you pick your operator, you can pick their loadout, but you have access, once you level up, to different weapons. So attackers can use defender guns, defenders can use attackers guns. There's a lot of variety, so you can use whatever you like. You've also got your secondary gun, and you've also got your secondary gadgets. But that's not what I'm here to actually show you. So down the bottom left, you'll see there's incursion information, toggle details, and operator info. So the incursion details is your objectives, as we've seen before, and parasite mutations, so the gameplay modifiers. And this is just a great thing if you miss it in the loading screen. And of course, choosing the right operator for the objectives is very much a must-have on the higher difficulties as well. And then you've got the toggle details button. This simply puts up a little infographic above your name, and it tells you what level their gadget is, what weapon they've got, and their secondary gadget. So it's a very quick way to look before you pick your operator. Then you've got operator info. This lets you know what the actual gadget does, which is handy because some of the gadgets are very different from what you get in Siege, and because of course it's a cooperative game, they're used very differently, so it's good to actually see what it shows up, and it'll also change depending on the level of your gadget, because they do get better as your character levels up. And then on the right hand side, you've got your studies button. This will show up with your challenges and is definitely worth looking at, because some of them will be like shoot something with a gun equipped with a holographic sight, or destroy enemies with explosives, or flashbang enemies. So you want to look, because then you can bring the correct equipment for that challenge to get it done. You don't want to be doing an incursion and missing out on getting your challenges finished. So for instance, this is super easy. I could do this in the very first sector that we're going into and immediately evac afterwards, and I complete these challenges and I can get a whole new 3 of them to go further on. So this is definitely worth doing. You'll level up way quicker, which will unlock better tech, and you also unlock story elements as well. So let's confirm loadout on that, and also be noted the confirm loadout is your ready up button, so make sure you do press it and you'll get into the game faster, especially if you're playing with randoms. And then we can get into the game and I can show you some of the menu items I didn't know existed straight away, and it took me a little bit of time to figure out that they were there. Like, you actually have a map that you can go and follow to get to places. So here we are, we've now deployed onto our incursion. You can see the choppers leaving, pretty cool. So what we actually do is bring up some really useful menu items here. First of all, you have your actual objectives. You bring up your challenges. This is basically your start menu, and you can see the challenges right there. Very handy, and this is, you should be doing these every single time you go into incursion, so you can get 3 more actually hanging up next time. But there's another menu you can bring up, which is back on controller or tab on PC, and you'll get this menu that has so much information on it. In fact, it has a map. I did not know there was a map for like a good couple of hours after playing this game. And it's also a map that updates. So it shows your friendly operators, it shows knocked out operators, it shows the extraction point, airlock, and objectives. So this is amazing. And it means, obviously, if you're trying to find your way to some place, you can just look at this and go, oh yeah, I can go that way through this doors and get there. So it's incredible. And of course, I know a lot of people might actually find this right off the bat and not be like me, but there might also be a lot of people that just didn't know this was here to begin with. Then we've also got additional information. So underneath that is remaining supply caches. So this shows health, ammo, gadget recharges, and secondary gadget recharges as well. Now, the game is super brutal when it comes to health and ammo. You will definitely run out of ammo and health in the higher difficulties, and they're hard to get back. Not only that, these supply caches in the higher difficulties become rarer, and the further you get through the incursion, the less they spawn. Also in Maelstrom Protocol, they actually stop spawning entirely part way through. Now, the other thing to note is that the health is an overheal. It actually goes down slowly. On the higher difficulties, when you get yourself extra health, it'll just quite quickly start to come down. So in this example where we're in the first map, I could go and find all these health boosts, I could take them, but by the time we get to the final map, those health boosts might be worn off, especially in the harder difficulties. And then of course on the right hand side, we've got our objectives, we've got our parasite mutations, and we've also got our scores. So you want to see how you're doing for objectives, kills, and tactics, and what our total XP is right now. Then that's kind of useful to actually take a look at, because if things are not going perfect and you think maybe we're in trouble, then it might be time to evac from the map, because you do get a bonus for evacing. Whereas if you or your team go MIA, you actually lose XP, so be wary of that in higher difficulties. But you can also go and right bumper here and look at the team. I'll let you know how everyone's doing. And it also lets you know their health as well, which is good to kind of have a quick look at. Then you've got up air, and again, if you just don't know what your up air actually does, what their ability is, you can take a look at it there. So this is incredible amount of information that I just was not looking at when I was doing my missions, and I didn't expect a freaking map to actually be there. It is so handy to know this. And yeah, that's the end of my quick tips video for getting started in Rainbow Six Extraction. Hopefully this will have you leveling up quicker and taking in more of the information that's available. And my other recommendation is as well, use your gadget. I was just so bad at using my gadget to begin with because I'm so used to use it in a PvP environment and not PvE that I just wasn't using it as much as I should have. And of course the gadgets are super powerful in this game. Now I'm also expecting that the initial player base for this game will be Siege players coming over and, trying it out on Game Pass or something. But I'm assuming that they'll be quickly overwhelmed with the co-op people who probably don't watch my channel. And if you're new here checking out this co-op game, hit subscribe if you want to see more Extraction kind of content and stuff like that in the future. And I'm expecting Siege players to just end up going back to Siege at some point because, of course, they're probably mostly PvP players. But if you're like me, who loves PvE and PvP, I'm definitely, of course, going to be playing tons of Siege and tons of Extraction, and of course other games as well in the future. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.